business, you never actually make it. There is challenges every year that are new, no matter what scale.
You were 25 at the time and you had 9 properties. And here were seasoned executives. Hey, how have you done it? You've got way more properties than me. How did you take your journey investing in properties into a business that is now InvestorKit doing incredible things?
This story is actually pretty funny when it comes to the whole business part.
Has curiosity always been an innate trait of yours?
That is the most important trait to me, in my opinion, from property success, business success. We've shifted the industry in a way where the industry now is propping up left, right, and center, talking about how everyone's data-driven.
You're now the #1 buyers agency in Australia 2 years running. You're doing over 8 figures. You've got a phenomenal team. If you were to distill it into 2 to 3 key reasons why you've had the success you've had, what would they be?
The main thing is if you just focus on someone else, most problems get solved. So that's the first point. The second point would be like,
Welcome to another episode of Profit Made Simple. Today we have an incredible guest, someone that has personally helped me create wealth through property. He is a man that knows all about property, wealth creation, business growth, and much more. Welcome to the podcast, Mr. Arjun Paliwal.
thank you, my friend. Kind words as well. Appreciate it.
Absolute pleasure. I'm really excited for today's episode. Now, there's going to be a few people that are watching, listening to this that may not know you, may not know your story. So let's rewind a little bit. And how did you get into the business game, the property game?
Okay, so I'll start off with property first. Around the dining table at home, most parents are having conversations. Some parents talk about money, some don't. Some people talk about just life and sports on the weekend. My dad had a habit of just talking about the deals he could have and the deals that he got. And I didn't know that that would influence me that much more in life, but that was a big influencer. The second thing is fast forward to my time moving from New Zealand, where I was born and brought up, to Australia and working in the banks. You're surrounded by money, curiosity is there, or you're just clocking in to do your job. And in my case, it was curiosity. So now, how did you get that loan? Or how did that person get that third property? Or wait, you don't earn that much, but you got all this. And the interesting thing about the world of banking is it's pretty cool where you can ask anything and they kind of have to tell you because they want a loan, they want an account, they want something. So you ask, you must get. And as a result, that sparked it for me. So that's where it all kicked off.
Has curiosity always been an innate trait of yours?
That is the most important trait to me, in my opinion, from property success, business success. I'm in many communities for business growth. I'm constantly investing in mentors, coaching locally, globally. I'm traveling a lot to learn. Now, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like it's good to be just a non-stop conference and never stop going to these things. You've got to apply, you've got to do stuff.
Of course.
But the whole curiosity is just constantly realizing that there's people out there doing something better than you are, or people out there that have something that you want, and you can acquire skill sets or you can acquire support. And so curiosity is what enables that to come up. And for me on the business front and property front, that's where it all started.
Love that. This curiosity got you into the finance game. You're working in the banks.
Yeah.
You're asking these questions. That must have begun your journey on the investment front. How did you take your journey investing in properties into a business that is now InvestorKit doing incredible things?
This story is actually pretty funny when it comes to the whole business part. I quit without even knowing what business I was going to do. I quit without even starting a side hustle. I just quit.
You just burnt those boats.
I just did it, right?
Yeah.
And the whole thing was I believe in these 2 things. Number one is I will give everything my all, and I don't want to cheat anyone. Is if I'm in the system of the big banking job I was in, I couldn't imagine myself using their hours, their time, the results and commitment to get that result, because my career is built thanks to the pathway in that community and pathway in that company. And so I have this just immense level of gratefulness to wherever I'm at, that's building me or building me in some way. And so I could just not sit there and feel good in my stomach if I was doing shit while I'm at someone else's workplace.
That's a big risk at that point though, because you've got certainty, you've got stability, you've got credibility working within a big bank. and then all of a sudden to just go to unemployment because you knew there was something else that you had to do?
I talk about this thing quite often. It's called building your best worst case. So burning the boats might have been what it looked like, but actually I had a bridge along the whole time to come back to. And this building your best worst case is my way to get anything in life done or any risky thing a go. And what it is simply this. If I go to whatever decision, business decision, type of business, type of industry, type of investment, whatever it may be, and if I can go, this works out badly, doesn't work out at all, and I just draw a line in life now and I look at what I've got to date or what I can come back to, do I feel like that's a good worst case? And if it's not, I'm not going to make that decision because I'm not happy with where I am or I'm not happy with what I have. Sure, there's people who talk about where they could be, but if you're happy with where you are, the benefit of going for what it could be means that your worst case is the easiest thing of all time, coming back to a Big Four bank, coming back with a master's degree already having done, coming back to 9 properties in the portfolio, coming back to a wife that goes, you gave it a go, you're awesome, and I'm glad you did, I'm glad you tried it, and you weren't just cowarding about the things that you could have done one day. Coming back to, I left my job on a good 8 weeks notice, not 4 weeks. I told them I'm not going to Westpac, I promise you. I'm just gonna sit back and figure it out. I'm not going to this other bank. I'm loyal CVA. When I'm come back, please let me come back. I left with multiple years of experience and good results and good karma and, didn't cheat anyone on the way, didn't burn any bridges with bosses. Everything was in a way where I go, if I come back, just a couple of years, that's all it is.
I love that. And is that a mechanism or a framework that you use when you're making a decision where there is an unknown? And that's what centers you. And that gives you the courage, that gives you the confidence to keep moving forward.
Absolutely. It's in every business decision. Like even now, if I think of going down a pathway to test something new, like I'm about to drop an announcement soon on our socials around something new that we're trialing. And this will be never done in the industry before. This will be stuff that would put us in a position where no one would collect data and research to this kind. Any AI, any tech platform won't be able to do this, what we're about to do. No one will produce more content in the advisory or buying side of real estate on social medias more than we ever do if this works out. And then no one will have the depth and consistency to know everything that's happening across certain markets in the country, the top 33 largest cities across Australia, sooner and earlier than we would if this works out. But here's the thing, this risk is not cheap. It's millions of dollars in me putting towards this risk to try for that payoff. But then I live with that same principle. If it doesn't work out, what happens? Okay, it was one bad year in the P&L. There was 1 year where I didn't, go and have this extra properties here and there or go and have all these extra things here and there. But what if it works out? We'll have USPs that no one can ever say in our industry. We'll have things that every customer says across the industry they wish they had and they have it. And so it's one of those things where you go, well, if the worst case is I'm back here to a multiple 8-figure business that's grown in 7 years, 50 to 100% per annum, and at profit margins of 20 to 30%,
it's not the worst position.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so as a result, I'm like, I can live with that. So why not give this a go? So I carry this everywhere, man.
I love it. It's very stoic.
Yeah.
There is a very similar approach, and stoicism is often we are paralyzed when it comes to making big, hard decisions. There is fear. We embrace certainty. But when we go, what is the worst case scenario? If this doesn't work out, do I still have my house? Do I still have the clothes on my back? Do I still have food? Do I still live in one of the most privileged areas of the world? Yeah. So for you at this point in life, whilst it may have looked like a risk, there was an element where it's like, well, the upside is way more than the downside. I've got great CV. I've got 9 properties. I've got a master's degree. But what was it that was just nagging away at you where you just went, I've got to make this move?
Man, even though the business is very different to what my dad was doing as a business, my dad is a mechanic fixing cars, and he'd been doing that since he was 14 and in and out of businesses and jobs. But the whole thing that my dad has was he did a business. And so people kids, whatever you want to call it, are inspired by certain people in life. Some inspired by family, some inspired by, celebrities, sporting athletes, people. But this inspiration makes people think like, I want to give that a go one day. And I just knew it was sitting there. Since I was a kid, I was like, oh, I want to do a business. That'd be cool. But I didn't know what in. I didn't know if I'd be good at it. I didn't know when. And then the second thing that came along was when I was in the banking world, a part of me became shifted because when I'd moved from the retail banking, serving and working with clients and teams to going into a more strategy and research role and like a product-based role in the head office, a part of you lose a part of you because you're now in high energy people to stakeholder influence, very different levels of corporate roles. And so it's not like I hated that. I was just learning a new part, but it wasn't at a pace that made me feel like
it wasn't lighting you up the same way.
It wasn't lighting me up the same way, but I never hated it. It's just not lighting me up the same way. And then the final part came up and it's predictability. I feel that if life's too predictable, you lose a bit of, fun as well. And that's part of that worst case. I thought to myself, I go, hey, let's look at the last 7 years of working in the bank. The teller became the specialist became the assistant manager became the branch manager, and then the branch manager became the larger branch manager. Then I went into the head office, then I went into that. And then I could almost like look in the mirror each day as I put on the suit and tie and I look in the mirror and I go, dude, you know what the next 10 years looks like?
It was the opposite of that value that you have so high is that unpredictability.
Absolutely.
And here it is, it's laid out in front of you and then you're like, there's nothing about this that is unpredictable.
Yeah, it's nothing unpredictable. Could things take a bit longer because maybe I'm not skilled at certain levels until I learn things? Could things take a bit longer because other people come into certain roles and they beat you to it? Sure, of course, that's life. But I knew where I was going. It was up a ladder and it was just a ladder. And I kept going. And so to me, again, that wasn't bad. I didn't hate it.
The ladder just was not up against the right wall.
Yeah, and it's just like, it's not a bad ladder. I mean, I'm not going to say it was bad, but I mean, to feel pretty good that ladder that you can keep climbing is your worst case is just another reason to go and give your best case somewhere else. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Unfortunately, so far, touch wood, it's worked.
Love that what you said about your dad and learning from him. I have a very similar story. I wasn't aware of it at the time, but my parents always owned businesses. So they had a printing business. They went into childcare. And I just think through osmosis of being around it, I saw what it looked like to have your own business. And you obviously took that from your dad and he's played a really important role in you becoming the business owner and the entrepreneur you have today. How long did it take you to realize that you wanted to help people build wealth through acquiring property?
That happened the moment I was in my 8-week notice period, but I didn't know it was that moment until I obviously got started. And so the 8-week notice period, I had some game-changing conversations around the water cooler talk and all that sort of stuff. And what was happening was like, I'd be like hey, Arj, you free for a sec? Want to have a quick chat? And I'm kind of wondering, did I do something wrong? Because these are managers of managers.
So these are above you.
Well above me, earning much more than me, been in the game much longer than me. They're like, hey, about your property stuff, how did you get to 9 properties at like 25 years old? And it's what, over 3 million in assets at that time. And it's like, you and your missus are just 25, you earn way less than me. I've been in the bank longer. I earn circa double what you earn. Like straight up, these conversations are happening for 8 weeks in a row of like different leaders, different people. How did you? And it just made me thought like, that is pretty cool. Now, unfortunately, I was using up a lot of time during the day talking about that, but I had no thought of the business. I just thought, I'm just talking about that. That's pretty cool. I was still going to quit, think about it, come back to it. And when I actually quit, the first thing I did was get on a plane to go to the USA because I'm a huge LeBron James fan. And I wanted to tick off some bucket list things to go and watch stuff. And I was like, there. So even then, at that point, I still hadn't thought of it. But it wasn't until a flight back from Bali, whilst this quitting period and traveling was happening, that my wife and I on this flight, and she just goes, just clear your minds all over the place. Like you're just now traveling and you kind of don't know when to get off that travel cycle. And we're in Bali, and instead of you doing what you usually do, which is you just chill at one spot and don't do anything, you booked like 4 tours and excursions in one day. You went from seeing monkeys to on a quad bike to in the rice fields to like, I was like trying to fill the void.
Yeah.
And that's when I was becoming like an adrenaline junkie and like just all this like travel tourism, like fun. And then I was like, okay, yeah, that's not normal. And if it was going to keep going on, not only would it not be normal, would I'd like not get any enjoyment out of it. And then I'd also burn holes in credit cards and cash savings and all that stuff. And I'd probably be back at work fast. But then during that flight back, she actually said, like, let's think about the things that you loved most and what are the moments. And it came back to that water cooler talk of realizing that that was very different. And it came back to that I'd used some professional help in my portfolio journey for parts of it, but not a lot of it. And then when I measured up the moves that I made with data and insights and research in comparison to that portfolio that didn't have that, those assets did not perform as good as the ones that I looked at in that lens. And I thought, that's it. I'm looking around Australian property and I don't see anyone tackling data and research as a key thing. There were one or two players at most, but they weren't really having a vision of building something from it. They just wanted to be the smartest cookie themselves, where I wanted to get the smartest cookies around me. And that's where we're at now. The team's built. We're the leaders of Australian data when it comes to real estate. And I'd like to say that we've shifted the industry in a way where the industry now is propping up left, right, and center, talking about how everyone's data-driven. And to me, that's a compliment. I don't see that as anything else. I see that as that's good that Australians are now being more data-aware. I'm not going to sit here and say I was the pioneer of it. There were others before me.
But you were definitely a thought leader in that space.
A builder of that trend for sure.
And I've been on the other side. I've been a client of yours, and the benefit of that data and you just looking after everything from sourcing the property and every step along the way, you identified a gap in the market where people weren't doing that, and now you own that space.
Yeah, and that gap, I'll let you answer this one because you would have noticed this, but one big thing that's a gap is the data piece that I feel like everyone's having a crack at now. But the gap that's extremely hard to copy, and I think will forever be one that's harder to copy, is swim lane specialization. And in all businesses, that's the key for an entrepreneur to get their time back. That's the key for an entrepreneur to offer their clients true mastery, is that you divide your business into segments and you get the best in each segment. And you don't give the client one hero or super guide that does everything for them. And because at some stage, business efficiency and service cross and they break because they don't meet their own ongoing swim lanes of strength. And then, I might ask that back to you, like, did you notice how many different swim lanes there were, from strategists to acquisitions to research to admin to support?
Absolutely. And everything was seamless. And that was the unique part, was every element from research to the negotiation to the legal team to getting a tenant, just the admin support. Everything was seamless across those different divisions. And you could tell that people just knew their stuff inside and out. They were not a generalist. They were a specialist. And I felt confident knowing that I didn't just have access to one person. I had access to a team of specialists.
That's the thing that we're building here. And I feel like that is a formula that's applicable to every business. You get to a point in business where when you get to a certain level of customers that you serve, you are now as good as your customer at certain things. And that's not a compliment. Like, that's me going, because I now negotiate, build strategies, do marketing, do admin, do HR, do finance, the part that the customer said I was meant to be the best at and why they came to me, I probably now commit as much of my day as they would to that.
It's a really interesting insight. I want to circle back here because now you've got this incredible team of specialists, but there'll be people out here listening going, that's all well and good. You've got an 8-figure business. Of course, you can have a team of specialists, but it started just with you initially. So what were a couple of early decisions that you made in business to make sure that you weren't the key constraint, make sure that the business was bigger than you, and to ensure that you built an A team around you?
What you said there is so important, because the humility needs to be there that I started there, right? I started at the same point everyone did. But my thing to everyone is that if you're in business and you don't build that around, at some point it's going to catch you.
Yes.
And so, as ruthless as this sounds, you're then becoming selfish by not growing it in the right way with the right people and the right support. Because the selfishness part is two things. One is as your calendar starts reaching that peak, the first layer of selfishness is that if your positive impact is there, you're not spreading it as much as you could. Like clearly your calendar's full because people like you, they think it's good, they think you can help them. How many more people could you help if that was your goal? And look, if you want to wake up each morning and go, that's not my goal, I want to earn this much a year, have that much time back, nothing against you, just know it's a selfish cause, not a bad cause.
Yes.
It's not a bad cause. It's just a selfish cause. People have to realize that intentional selfishness for decisions that you'll feel comfortable, sleep at night and happy about isn't a bad thing. It's just that you need to know it's that. Because if you can spread a good impact and help many people, so you should, right? We're here on earth for a reason. The second part is that I'm going to get worse at it because of that whole time constraint. So now coming back to like, how do you start? Where do you do it? So my whole answer to where do I start with that is that I firstly broke down the parts in which the business not needed me most, but the customer needed me most. People try and attack this problem solving from the business part. I attacked it from where's the part that my customer needs me most. And so my journey was this. Firstly, buying was where my customer needed me most. So I let the front end team start to take sales off me. And then I moved into the buying. And the lure for the customer became, hey, just get past the sales stuff. I want to work with that guy to be purchased for. He'll buy it for me. And then I realized buying can become systemized because if I take the best of me, put it on paper, SOPs, process, playbooks, the right people, observe, I show, you try, I observe, you do, now you show. And we just keep repeating the cycle. Now buying becomes a process that can happen and they follow rules, and rules will get you 80% of the success I had. That 20% extra might be a bit of charisma here, might be a bit of 10 o'clock hustle here, all that sort of stuff, but you can handle that with more people. 2 9-to-5ers beat 1 24/7 kind of thing, right? Or so the formula is that it can be outscaled and support you. Then the next part became, well, now my customers really want me for strategy. Not just strategy in buying, strategy. So now you come across the other sales side, I've come off buying, I'm still in strategy, and then I'm now in strategy. Then I come off strategy, and now it's like my customers can come through the whole circle without me. And after a while, now you go to what does the business need and not need? Okay, the business needs certain experts in this division. And so I feel like if you start with what the customer needs most from you, you can start to slowly delegate everything else because they'll still want to go through all the hoops or all the things to be with you. And then after that, you then flip over to what the business needs from you. And that's when you slow down. And so now you get to that point of delegation where my 2 favorite areas are research and marketing. And so I stick in these 2 areas close to those 2 teams, and all else I try and delegate to leaders and support. And then there'll come a time where these 2 things, I might block them one day because my ceiling is limited to my knowledge and my passion's just founder passion, not really actually getting the company forward. And so then I'll slowly come off that.
I was going to say, I love that differentiation between what does the customer need. Once we've filled that, then what does the business need? You've now landed at, I do research, I do marketing. How did you land at those 2 functions in the business? Is that because you love them? Is that because it adds the most value to the business? Is that because the business needs that from you? What was your criteria for those 2 functions?
So the criteria for me, and I feel that more founders should love marketing to an extent, or at least be in the process of it, is marketing is that first representation of you, your brand, your vision. And so I could hand it off, but then the control freak in me comes out to go, well, but that's not how I sound. That's not what we sound like. And I don't believe you shouldn't outsource it. You can outsource support and growth in it. But it's like, can you be involved to make it something special, to be like what you want? So that was my first reason. It's just that I wanted it to represent who we are.
I've seen you market more in the last few months than I've ever seen you market before. Is that a conscious strategic decision that you've made?
It's 2 parts to it. So one part is that it's a natural evolution of growth rates. Because what ends up happening is that if you grow certain percentage points each year, even if you're marketing the same as a proportion of what you always did, because you've broken thresholds in numbers, it just stands out more. So there's more people who market the same way at 0 to 3 million than there is someone at the 20 million plus. And so as a result, that those people in the 20 million plus, it looks like they're doing it more, but I'm doing it as a percentage and proportion.
Same percentage.
Same as I used to at 0 to 1, except that people see it now because the threshold, like my rule is I always spend 15% of target revenue on marketing.
Yeah. And so now you're doing 20 million, you're spending
It's like
3
4
million
million on marketing, or just under 4 million. So it just happens as part of that evolution, and it looks like I'm doing a lot more. The second thing is I've embraced the idea from personal branding a lot more as well.
I've seen that.
And so
you're
that's
paying
been
a
a big
lot more
focus.
attention on that. You're doing a lot of reels, which is showcasing the journey, a lot of behind the curtains, behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And what was the catalyst for you investing more in the personal brand?
There was a presentation by a gentleman by the name of Matt Purcell. And this presentation by Matt, he jumped on stage and he basically said, who's got more followers, Elon Musk or Tesla? And people were like, Tesla. Everyone knows Tesla. Maybe Elon. Oh, somewhat half and half. And then you go, who's got more followers, Tim Cook or Apple? Like 99% of the room is like Apple. You're like, who's the frick is Tim Cook? You know what I mean? And then you flip the stats.
Yeah.
Tim Cook's got more followers than Apple, and Elon Musk has got more followers than Tesla. And so then it made me realize, well, what else has Elon touched? Oh, the Boring Company and all of these things, and SpaceX, and wow, everything he touches has a certain reputation that follows him. And then I went to recently Hormozi's, and I saw him in live in July. It was pretty cool on his podcast now as well.
Oh, wow.
Because the Q&A we asked, it was like 10 out of 88 business owners got asked to ask a question, and I was one of them. And as a result,
what was the question?
I think it was around certain like LTV and CAC questions I had.
Okay.
Very technical, because I'm
Of course.
hey, I've got the direct guy here. I'm going to go as technical as I need to and make him work on the question. And his answer was quite simple. But in terms of the visit there, he had this question up in the room and he goes, who's ever seen an acquisitions.com.au post? Or not AU, sorry, acquisitions.com post? No one put their hand up.
Yeah.
Who's been on the socials for acquisitions.com in the last couple of months?
No
one put their hands up. Who knows Alex Hormozi? Everyone's hands went up. Who thinks that we post this many times and that many times? And it's like, on the company page, everyone after realizing those questions realized, oh, don't put their hands up. And they thought they did a lot more than they actually did. And they did very little posts on the company page. And so it made me realize, it's like, okay, this is interesting. And then I thought of certain marketing agencies here, certain people on Shark Tank and certain people there. And I'm just like, okay, there's a few businesses where I go, all right, Boost Juice is super prolific.
Yes.
Right? But then now I go, oh yeah, I don't know that person's business. I know that person. And so I just realized to myself, hey, 33 years old. I've got a lot of time for a lot of footage to be built up in life, a journey and a story. I'm aiming big. This would be perfect to get started. And so I just really committed to that. And the pivotal moment was that Matt presentation. Then it went to seeing the founders across Shark Tank and who I knew and who I didn't. And then after a while, it turned into Hormozi's. And the Hormozi moment was the moment to go in July, actually, this year. Like, I'm going to triple down, not double down.
I have seen it's been like a flip that's been switched with you.
Yeah.
I've been connected with you for a little while, and in the last few months, I've seen more content than I had in probably the couple of years beforehand.
There's some days where we beat Hormozi in daily posts. So like I counted it like a savage. I was sitting there and I was like, I just did 9 posts, he did 7 in one day. And I was like, we just beat him. Now, of course, keeping it up every day like he does is a whole new story.
Consistency is the other challenge.
But we've had some days where we've beat him in a few days in the calendar month. Now, followers, doing it right, doing as good as he is, very different game. I'm learning that stuff. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that. But the moment to just look up to someone like that and give things a go and have moments where you're like, I'm right there. And then other have moments where they're like, yeah, I just did 100 million in books in a week. And I'm like, damn it, okay, I'm not there.
I did 100 million US on one book launch.
That's right. I'm like, all right, definitely not there yet. Yeah. So yeah, just some humbling moments, but some moments to like push you to a certain level.
Yeah, love those insights. I want to switch gears a little bit. You had some really pivotal conversations when you were at CBA around the water cooler. You were 25 at the time and you had 9 properties. And here were seasoned executives saying, hey, how have you done it? You've got way more properties than me. Now, you'd see a lot of business owners, because our audience are primarily business owners. You'd see a lot of business owners that are getting impressive revenue numbers. They're growing, but they're not thinking about wealth creation. When did the penny drop for you about, it's not just about growing my bank balance. It's not just growing how much I actually get paid, but I now need a vehicle to create legacy money.
Yeah, that's a really good question. When I started in the banking space, I must admit, as a kid in the 20s, it was more ego than it was like science and formulas and where this is going to take me and how my life's going to be set in this way. It was a bit of like, oh man, I did that. Can I do it again? Can I do it again? Oh, that wasn't so hard. What if we did this? How if we did this? It was creativity, tactics, ego, hustle, grind. So it wasn't as strategic. But now, fast forward, I've realized the strategy part to it and how important it is, especially during 7 years of business. And what I've come to realize is that in business, you never actually make it. There is no such thing as I make it. There is challenges every year that are new, no matter what scale. There are things that you haven't faced. There are things that you go through. There are people that come. There are people that go, systems that work, systems that fail. Marketing that one day worked that stops working. An algo changes, something like that. So you never actually, quote unquote, make it in business. You just don't. Of course, unless you exit. And even if you don't exit and you think you've got all these systems and everything's perfect, something can change. And so that moment made me realize that if you keep waiting till you make it, because I had years that were like this, although top line was like this, the bottom line had years like that. And so then I was just like, when do you actually like make it? You don't. It's the fact that you want to get better at something, you keep having constant challenges, and you keep enjoying the journey, the ride, and you're in a passionate area, and like you're good at something. And so you just constantly enjoy that. And that's just life. Like you don't need to run away or end something or finish it. And so for me, that was the moment I realized where I was like, okay, well, I want to control something and not feel like everything's this roller coaster, because that's what business can do. And that's where investing gives you control. You know, when you start building a portfolio out of investment properties, you end up having this moment where you can look at a bad year in business because you experimented, you tested, you tried. You look to the right and you go, oh, you did all that while I was sleeping, whilst I was just sitting there and holding and focusing on my business? Like, I would have had to nail this funnel, increase sales by this much, cut X people, one of these things or combination of these things to get that. But you just did that while I was sleeping. And so that moment of like, you can give business a go through the ups and downs and then let that grow, that was very special. The second realization was when I had moments like COVID, and COVID came in and I was like, oh, where does this go? What's going to happen to the business? Where are we going to be? I took out equity from the portfolio and I left $650,000 of equity in an offset account. And I just left it there. Do you know how much your mindset changes as a business owner? Not by spending the money, but just seeing that each day. You flip over in your CommBank account and you see those digits. My decision-making was 10-year decision-making type decisions, not get me out of COVID decisions. And what that did was, interesting enough, I didn't even use any of that 650 for the business.
It's just mentally it made a big shift. Yeah.
That was the difference makers for me. The mental shift, the growth strategy, whilst I'm not actively growing it. That was it.
Yeah, great insights. And I can attest to it. There's been years in business where, you know, we've grown year on year, much like yourself, but bottom line can be shaky at times. And then I have a look at some of the purchases that we've made. I'm like, holy hell. Like I couldn't even, the growth that some of the properties have done within a year are hard to replicate on a business front in, you know, actually making that as a profit. In terms of business owners out there going, yeah, that sounds all good and well, but you know, you got to be making heaps of money to even get into this game. What would you say to them? Like, what's the point where they should be looking and going, well, am I in a position to start diversifying, to start investing outside of my business to get into the property space?
A lot of business owners will again think of that, oh, I'll wait till I make it. Oh, I've just got to, if I do this again next year, if I put this back in the engine room next year, it's going to become that, right? And so they keep thinking of the next year, the next year, the next year. All I would say is you'd be very surprised that if you took a little chunk off that next year and you called it reinvestment capital, but it was more from a perspective of property as a business on its own, then you'd look at it very differently and you'd be able to realize that you can do it a lot earlier than you thought. I mean, put it this year, I just purchased a property this year for $660,000. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that's, you know, affordable for everyone, But when you're looking at the metrics, like 10% deposits are about 66K, stamp duty, lawyers, buyers agents, professionals, let's just round it down to 100K in total funds, maybe 120 max if you need a little bit of a buffer. If your business can get that momentum, whether it's a year or a couple of years, and if it's not your business, it's your home's equity, and your business is just the income vehicle to give you the actual, tax return or personal income statement to get the loan, that's it. And once it gets started, it's a lot easier as you get going, because my last few purchases weren't me pulling cash out of the business. They were me pulling equity.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I can attest to that as well. The first one that you helped us with, we couldn't get access to as much finance as we would have liked. It ended up being, we didn't end up spending, we spent under $500,000 on the first investment. It was in Rockhampton. We pulled equity out of our PPR. Crushed it. When we looked 10 months later, it had done over $100,000 in growth in 10 months.
Yeah.
And it didn't take a lot to get started. And so I think the main thing there is don't make the mountain bigger than it needs to be. It's quite often simpler and easier. And once you've got one, you can, that's gone up that 100 in that 10 months, we can then reinvest that equity growth into the next one and the next one.
Absolutely. And people overcomplicate it. You literally sign 3 pieces of paper. You signed a piece of paper for equity loan, you signed a piece of paper for new loan, and you signed a piece of paper on a new contract to sell for the second property after that. It sounds overcomplicated because of all the intricacies, but if you take a step back and just think of it, you sign 3 pieces of paper and add an extra $500,000 plus in wealth.
Incredible. How many properties do you own today?
I don't know the exact number. I think it's like 15, 16, 17. I don't keep track of it too much, but it's around 20 million of assets.
Yeah.
And the goal was to get to 20 million of assets by 35. We beat it. And so
congratulations.
So that was one big thing for me. And now I'm switching after 1 or 2 max, maybe more purchases from residential to commercial. And I'll just stick on commercial the whole way through. And then that's life.
And looking back in retrospect, what moves were great and what would you do? What would you not do in retrospect?
Yeah, so the moves that were great, funnily enough, the last 4 or 5 purchases, or maybe even 3 or 4 purchases, have been really interesting moments. They've all been these moves. Presented it to a client. The client either A, last minute had a circumstantial change that they couldn't go for it anymore and it was too late to pass it on to someone else. Or B, they got stuck in the purchase, something major shift happened personally or preference on the property, like a major shift, and they needed to get out. And so my last 3 or 4 were all those.
So you were advising for clients, these are amazing opportunities. Something happened and you're like, well, they're too good to miss. I've got to put my my hat in the ring.
And they're too late to pass on to another client.
Yeah.
Because it's like the deal's gone. It's like, it's about to be gone. If you don't, in some of those purchases, I've even saved clients their deposit. I can remember a story in 2020 in COVID, a client's business was massively shaken up and they had to let go of 2/3 of their team. And had they not done that, the business may not be there today. They had to pull out. And unfortunately in Victoria, they couldn't pull out because they couldn't get a decline letter. The bank needs a decline letter sent. And if they're a business owner, you don't get decline letters because they're based on previous financials, not income today.
Oh, wow.
And so they couldn't get a decline letter even though their business wasn't the same as before. And they were trying to tell their bank that they need that. They didn't give it to them at that time. Maybe policies have changed since, but that time they didn't. I called up the sales agent. I said, let me try and find another client. They want to go ahead. I know it's COVID. Second client, they couldn't get their finances around, changes in COVID. And then all of a sudden, my wife and I looked at each other and we're like, I know we don't know what's going to happen in the world. And I know we're going into our buffers and using this. But I want to make sure this client's not impacted and they get their deposit back. And this agent won't let the deposit go because legally they don't have to. And if there's a vendor on the other side, it's probably feeling the same too. So I called up the agent. I said, just sell it to me. I'll figure it out. And he just goes, are you going to figure it out? You know, you got this, everything. And I'm like, yep. So 2020, bought a place off, made sure my client's deposit went back to her.
Wow.
I bought it. And that's been something important to me. So that's been a good part, is that I really don't have bad deals because I buy the deals that I was willing to submit to someone else anyway. The bad part is that even though I'm in the game of doing this, I should have, put my own mask on first and gotten a few deals for myself as soon as I know the tea leaves say the markets are about to do something. But I'm like, always busy, life's full on. I got a fair few places already. I never think about it. I stopped planning for my portfolio now myself. I just kind of do a little bit each year here and there. And then I just never I'm like, wow, I started advising about Adelaide to clients in 2018 and I didn't buy there till 2021. Like, well, why? And then I just realized because I was so busy trying to build a business, you don't focus on yourself. And yeah, that was my moment for me. If I would take time back again, as soon as it was 2018, I know it's happening. I should back myself first and then tell my clients, like, hey, I did it. You want to come along the journey with me kind of thing?
Well, that's been big. The two properties that I've bought with you, both have had people that work for you buy in the same area.
Exactly.
And I'm like, if they're putting their own money down and they back it, then I know what they're telling me they believe in.
Yeah, 100%. Our team is full of investors.
It meant a lot in that process. I want to talk about business a little bit. InvestorKit, phenomenal business. You've won Buyer's Agency of the Year 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
When you look back and it started just with you, you're now the #1 buyer's agency in Australia 2 years running. You're doing over 8 figures. You've got a phenomenal team. If you were to distill it into 2 to 3 key reasons why you've had the success you've had, what would they be?
Ruthless focus on the customer. We've got over 600 5-star Google reviews. We've got 0 cases where someone's requested for a refund and not got it. We've had 0 cases where someone's taken the complaint to the highest levels and been impacted us. Nothing like that has occurred because we're ruthless about problem solving. If someone feels unhappy and they feel like, no, we're not deserving of this, we don't want to work together, like, I don't deserve their money. And at the end of the day, if you take that to a whole new level of constant ruthless problem solving, looking at everything and trying to figure out how you can make this better for the customer, things happen and things happen pretty good. And you just realize like, oh, I didn't expect that. It's kind of the world doing its way, karma, whatever you want to call it. But the main thing is if you just focus on someone else, most problems get solved. So that's the first point. The second point would be like just having a bigger calling each year. I'm not thinking about, oh, we got to just win the next 90 days. I'm thinking about where we could be in the years ahead. And if you have a vision that's big enough of where it could be, making decisions along the way becomes quite easy. The commitment to marketing, the commitment to the right people, the commitment to certain late nights to get certain things done. It just happens like because it's a step rather than that's the whole journey kind of done. Because if you're constantly thinking about your journey, that's you in imagination mode all the time. That's you just thinking there and not doing it. That's you planning about what's next. That's you probably getting into boring habits. Maybe you're on the couch too long, video gaming too long, at sports games and watching TV too long, all because you don't have something that's so big that pushes you nervously, excitingly, whatever you want to call it. So as soon as you have that, you have no choice but to push. So you're just in that momentum. And the final thing would be is that the humility around just getting a lot of people that can own spaces and do a brilliant job at it. And you'll have moments in your life where you got to reset moments, where you got to go, look, actually restructure that division just because it needs a bit more of you there. But those are just moments. If you think long-term, having me everywhere is a long-term successful strategy, it's not. But I think these 3 components of ruthless focus on the customer, and the customer to me changes sometimes. It's the team and it's the clients. It's not just that. And then these other 2 key points, if you put them all together, that's it.
Absolutely love those 3 points. Focus on the customer. If you've got them at the center of everything that you do, then it's very hard to fail. Because you're going to have just a series of raving fans, repeat buyers, referrers, and you're just going to do an incredible amount for your credibility and the brand name. The second is very clear about the vision, fantastic clarity, but that in itself is not enough because a vision without traction is hallucination. So it's got to be followed up with meaningful steps and actualization of the vision itself, and then just putting great people around you.
That's it.
Beautiful. Arj, I've loved this conversation so far. This is a question that I like to ask every guest. And that is, what is the best piece of advice you have ever been given or received?
You know, there's always recency bias when it comes to advice because the recency bias is you thinking of like just the tough moments recently and how you powered through. My coach, gentleman by the name of Simon Reynolds,
Oh, yeah. I know Simon Reynolds. I've read his book.
Yeah, Win Fast, phenomenal book. The recent coaching session he had maybe 2-3 sessions ago was an absolute game changer. And what he said was, you've got to enter founder mode. There's moments in time where you've got to enter founder mode. And the whole premise of this is that you will have YouTube videos where there's a course about this or a coach on stage about this, and they don't successfully push hard in their own business. You'll go to a lecture at uni, no disrespect to any professors out there, but they're teaching business in a certain way. Maybe they haven't done business. There'll be this hierarchical structure that maybe that's what's meant to have in companies. And then there's this definition of culture, or there's this, burnout, no burnout, stress, no stress, work-life balance, all these rules, whatever you want to call it, like just rules that have come all around life. And they teach you certain ways to do things or make you instill this belief that this is the way it's meant to be done. And then you put all these people in real businesses and shit breaks all the time. It doesn't get to where they're meant to get it. You see the big consultants trying to run Starbucks and that breaks apart. You see the big consultants telling all the dashboards and stuff that they should have for the Boeings, and then that doesn't do anything. And so founder mode is all about just basically going, hey, sometimes you just know best, and it's important to know that you will know best by just rolling up the sleeves, getting in it, getting it done. And there'll be moments where it can't be done the way that everyone teaches it to be done, and you got to get in there and just get it done. Steve Jobs was known for this. Elon Musk was known for this. Of course, they're not in this moment every minute of the day. Otherwise, where's your team at? When are you going to build a team? When are you going to get the things done in a certain way? But there's moments where you got to not feel guilty about entering founder mode and just getting shit done personally in areas that are meant to just need you. And don't let leadership philosophies and old school principles or teachings that perfect leadership looks like this and everything's about delegation and everything's about simple structure. No, you've got to enter certain moments and certain parts of your journey in business where you got to just get in and be a founder mode. And that advice has changed my life because I basically have long periods of delegation, activity, trust, leadership, everything that's textbook. But then I have moments where I don't feel guilty or bad about entering founder mode, because if I don't solve shit, at the end of the day, it's all my fault anyway. It's not anyone else's. And so that's probably the biggest advice I can give, is that you got to have moments to enter it hard, and be kind, but be ruthless about it, be unforgiving about it, like the things that you got to do for yourself and do for the company, but be kind. You can do it without being a dickhead, quote unquote, right? But the main thing is you got to enter it, and you got to not look back about entering it. So to me, that's the biggest advice I've received in recent times. And it's made me just remove all the guilt of doing it, because you're taught all the stuff to not do that shit. You're told to give everyone time. You're told to trust everything. You're told to just sit back and watch, and your turn to do it, my turn to do it. Are you okay? Am I okay? Are we okay? Is the customer okay? Wasn't that a brilliant learning opportunity? Like, come on, like this is how we freaking do it. Watch me. I will do it. I got to fix this.
Yeah.
It's too late. Like, there's risks involved in this. I got like freaking 50, 60, 80 plus jobs now. Like you got customers, hundreds waiting for the right thing and wanting to nail the right thing and backing you. You got over 2,000 Aussies waiting to build the portfolio the right way. They've already started with you. They want to keep building it. You can't take that shit for granted. So be ruthless and enter founder mode from time to time. You'll have moments to build better leadership. You'll have moments to learn more. You'll never be perfect. In my 30s, I've got a lot to learn about life. But at the moment, there's moments where I know I got to enter that. So that's it for me.
Yeah, great insight. And I think the key around that is discernment. But the other key is also not subscribing to it has to be done this way. And knowing yourself and knowing your organization and knowing your team, where does this need me right now? And where does it need me to get my hands dirty so we can resolve this? Last question. There's going to be a number of people that have just loved this episode. They've resonated with it and they want to get to know you better. They want to get into your world. How can they best do so?
Man, I am all over LinkedIn. That's my place to be. So Arjun Paliwal, Arjun, Paliwal's Paliwal. Find me on there. Send me a DM, hit add, connect, check out my stuff. If you're looking at the wealth building side of things as well, not just the business side, then investorkit.com.au. Obviously, we worked a couple of times with yourself and those close to you, family, friends. So yeah, that's us.
Fantastic. Well, I appreciate you. Thank you for sharing so much insight and wisdom with our audience today. And I have no doubt that we'll be seeing a lot more of you and learning a lot more lessons throughout your incredible journey. Thank you for watching today's episode of Profit Made Simple. If you got value from today, you know what to do. Give us a like, comment, subscribe, and we appreciate you. Thank you so much.